He is from Advancing American Freedom, former election board appointee in Fulton County, Georgia. Boy, that's got to come along with some stories. Trump is going to give a primetime speech tonight, and that speech will include voting, things of that nature, and how do we keep our elections free and fair. Hans, welcome back, friend.
Well, thanks for having me. I actually suspect a lot of what he's going to be doing tonight is ragging on the U.S. Senate, because remember, just last night, the U.S. House passed the National Defense Authorization Act, but they attached to it the SAVE Act, the federal bill that require proof of citizenship and voter ID in federal elections. And the president has been pushing and pushing to get that passed. So that now arrives in the Senate, and I'm sure he's going to push the Republicans in the Senate to get that through.
Look into your crystal ball for me, Hans, because, with the passing of Lindsey Graham, the SAVE Act is, it's on life support. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this radio station, these listeners, it's like, okay, hit me on the forehead. It's common sense that you would think that you'd want to at least say, hey, I need to see an ID to vote. Come on. I mean, no, it's oppressive. It's Jim Crow 2.0 BS. You need a license for everything, whether that comes to your SNAP benefits, your cocktails, getting on an airplane. Why do you think that this is such a pushback from Democrats, other than they want to have illegals vote in elections?
I don't think it's anything other than that. There was one of the senators' video caught her, was dug up, I think, by Breitbart, saying that if this law were to pass, Democrats wouldn't be able to get elected anywhere. And I think that, frankly, is one of the main reasons for it. Why else would they do that? Particularly because, look, it's Democratic leadership, Democrat elected officials that are opposing this. The polling shows exactly what you just said. Americans overwhelmingly support voter ID, support proof of citizenship, and that's the constituents of both political parties. It's the leadership of the Democratic Party that's opposed to this.
And you look at the ridiculousness of what goes on, and Hans, I don't mean to go off on a wild goose chase here, but let's just talk about that Minneapolis fraud and the Minnesota fraud and
right.
and Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar. They put their head in the sand, and the what amazes me is the people that vote for these folks in these districts. They don't seem to care. How is that possible? This is their money that's being wasted. These are their resources that are gone, all thanks to this fraud. Yet there's a segment of society and the Democrat side that doesn't give a hoot.
Well, that is an unfortunate trend going on in this country. On the other hand, keep in mind that the people who are voting to keep Democrats in office in Minnesota, many of them are the ones who were committing the fraud that Walz and his attorney general were not only ignoring, but as you know, for example, there's video of a meeting of the AG with donors to his campaign, some of whom were committing this fraud, saying, we're going to do everything that we can to protect you.
From Advancing American Freedom, this is our friend Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, where do you think we end up as a nation? We were just talking earlier before our last break that 103 representatives yesterday voted to pull funding from Israel. They wanted that $3.3 billion for our only ally in the region to go away. We're seeing this crazy shift. It's a big shift, and it's going to divide the Democrat Party. There's no doubt about it. But now we're talking straight on socialism, and I don't think these folks know what they're on the cusp of.
Oh, look, I think that we are at one of those crisis points in American history that we have faced several times in the past. On issues like that, we seem to be as deeply divided as we were before the American Civil War. And the attitudes of the far left, particularly their support for violence, which we've seen constantly, their support for attacks on the president, on Supreme Court justices, that is exactly the attitude that Southern segregationists had in the 1850s before the American Civil War. I think that we are in a cold civil war at the moment that is having sparks in various places as that violence occurs, and I don't know how it's going to come out.
How much of this gets fixed when Trump's not in office anymore? There's so much visceral hate for this guy, and we support him here, make no mistake, but it's as long as he's at the helm, there's a certain segment of society that will never go along to get along with anything the United States has to offer or say because they've been taught to hate this guy, really for no reason at all. At the end of the day, he's a short-time politician who hasn't been doing this that long.
That hatred is going to continue, and Democrats will try to reverse everything that he has accomplished, particularly things like trying to get rid of the Department of Education, which has been interfering with local school boards now for a long time. I mean, look, to show you how bad it is, remember, one of the chief advisors of Bill Clinton was a guy named Sidney Blumenthal. His son is a radical who just attended Khomeini's funeral in Iran.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Hey, Hans, can I ask you a question? What would you say to the people that are saying that this DSA movement, it's just like the Tea Party movement back, in 2007.
It's just like the MAGA.
It's a fad. It'll go away. I think this is a hell of a lot bigger threat.
Oh, I think it is a much bigger threat because this is the result of socialists and Marxists taking control of our academic institutions. And so they are birthing generation after young generation of socialist Marxists who hate America. And, they're the ones constantly saying, everyone who opposes them are fascists. But in fact, that's what they are. They are the ones who believe in authoritarianism and, frankly, getting rid of anyone or silencing anyone who opposes them. That's extremely dangerous.
Now, Hans, back to tonight and what the president may or may not talk about. And we're going to talk about voter integrity and things like that. And you've seen a lot, of course, as a board appointee in Fulton County, Georgia. That's as bad as Chicago, for goodness sake. Now, it drives me crazy because I was saying earlier to my newsman, Nick, if we had the steadfast hard facts to say this went on. Voter rolls were fudged. There were people that voted twice. There were people from districts that weren't over here supposed to be voting. Yet we know it happens. But even if we present the cold, hard truth, will people even believe it?
No, because the left denies constantly what is right in front of them. And look, that's why, remember, one of the things the Justice Department has been doing has been trying to get state voter registration rolls so they can, in fact, check that kind of information so that they could take, for example, Illinois' statewide voter registration list and check it against what? Department of Homeland Security databases to find people who are not U.S. citizens who have registered and voted in the state, which we know has happened. Yet Illinois has fought that, as have many other blue states. And you have to sit there and think, if their lists are so perfect, why are they fighting that? Well, we all know why they're fighting it.
Right on. Well, it's something to see. And in this city, it really is nuts. And, sans the listeners of this radio station, who are all common sense people for the most part, you know that this goes on. You certainly do. We know it does. It's been going on forever. You don't make this stuff up. And in Chicago, vote early, vote often. I mean, it's just, it's surprising to me that everybody just puts their head in the sand and it's like, nothing to see here. My friend, always good to talk to you. Appreciate you.